The moonlit waters of the Mediterranean shimmered as HMS Upholder sliced through the waves, her hull barely breaking the surface. It was May 24th, 1941, and the diminutive British submarine prowled 10 nautical miles east of Siracusa, Sicily. Through the periscope, Lieutenant Commander Wanklyn's keen eyes scanned the horizon. Suddenly, he froze. The silhouettes of 3 massive liners materialized, escorted by a protective screen of destroyers. This heavily guarded convoy could only mean one thing: thousands of Axis troops bound for North Africa. Wanklyn's mind raced. Upholder's presence was still unknown, but for how long was difficult to say. The nearest destroyer was only 400 yards away. With her limited dive depth, Upholder was acutely vulnerable to depth charges in these clear, shallow waters. Yet, the opportunity was too great to pass up. Wanklyn gave the order to close in. At 1,000 yards, Upholder's torpedo tube swung into position. The seconds ticked by as Wanklyn waited for the perfect moment. At last, he barked the command to fire. 2 torpedoes erupted from Upholder's tubes, streaking through the water towards their target. As Wanklyn watched, the projectile zeroed in on the largest liner. But he would have no chance to observe their effect. The destroyer was heading straight for them, preparing a barrage of powerful depth charges. If Upholder were to survive, she would need to dive deep and hope to find a hiding place in those shallow waters. The story of HMS Upholder began in 1939 as Europe braced itself for war. Recognizing the need for a new class of small, agile submarines, the British Admiralty introduced the U-class, designed for short-range patrols in coastal waters. Upholder, laid down on October 30th, 1939, at the Vickers-Armstrong shipyard in Barrow-in-Furness, England, would be one of the first of this new breed. Less than 200 feet long, Upholder was a fraction of the size of the ocean-going submarines of her day. Her compact design allowed for a standard crew of only 33. Nevertheless, despite her small stature, Upholder packed a considerable punch. She carried 6 21-inch torpedo tubes, 4 in the bow, and unusually 2 external tubes. This provided her with significant firepower for her size, though the external tubes also gave her a distinctive bulbous nose. They would also later prove problematic in maintaining depth and were not included on later U-class submarines. Upholder's propulsion system consisted of 2 diesel engines for surface running, generating 615 horsepower each. When submerged, she relied on electric motors, powered by 120 battery cells. This configuration allowed for a maximum surface speed of just 11.25 knots and a submerged speed of 10 knots, though the latter could only be maintained for short periods due to battery limitations. One of Upholder's most critical systems was her hydrophones, which allowed the crew to detect enemy vessels by listening for their distinctive sound signatures. This passive sonar system was crucial for locating targets and avoiding detection, particularly in the clear Mediterranean waters, where visual detection from aircraft was a constant threat. Commissioned into the Royal Navy on October 31st, 1940, Upholder was assigned to the newly formed 10th Submarine Flotilla, based in Malta. Few could have predicted the remarkable career that lay ahead for this unassuming vessel. The man chosen to command Upholder was Lieutenant Malcolm David Wanklin. Born in Calcutta, India, to British parents in 1911, Wanklin had always been drawn to the sea. Joining the Royal Navy at age 14, he quickly rose through the ranks, developing a reputation as a skilled and determined officer. By the time he took command of Upholder, Wanklin had already led the submarine HMS Shark through the Mediterranean during the Spanish Civil War and had also seen action in the opening months of World War II, sinking a German patrol vessel off the Dutch coast while in command of the submarine HMS H-31. Wanklin's cool demeanor and tactical acumen would prove invaluable in the challenging wartime waters. He was known for his meticulous planning and ability to remain calm under pressure. These qualities would be tested time and again during Upholder's perilous missions. One of Wanklin's key strengths was his understanding of the technical aspects of submarine warfare. He worked closely with his crew to maximize Upholder's capabilities, often pushing the boat to its limits. His leadership style fostered a strong sense of camaraderie among the crew, crucial for maintaining morale during long and dangerous patrols. As 1941 dawned, the tiny island of Malta stood as Britain's lone outpost in the central Mediterranean, a thorn in the side of Axis supply lines to North Africa. It was into these perilous waters that HMS Upholder sailed, arriving at her new base on January 12th. The submarine and her crew had barely settled in when the realities of their new posting became brutally clear. On January 16th, the skies over Malta's Grand Harbor erupted in chaos. German Junkers Ju-87 dive bombers screamed down from the clouds, their sirens wailing. The aircraft carrier HMS Illustrious, moored nearby, became their primary target. As 1,100-pound bombs slammed into the carrier's deck, Upholder's crew scrambled to their action stations. The submarine's deck gun barked defiantly, adding to the cacophony of anti-aircraft fire. Shrapnel pinged off Upholder's hull as near misses sent geysers of water skyward. This was just the beginning of Upholder's Mediterranean odyssey. In the weeks that followed, Upholder ventured out into the Mediterranean, hunting for Axis shipping. The clear, shallow waters presented a new challenge for Wanklin and his crew, making them vulnerable to air attack and forcing them to adapt their tactics. During one patrol, Wanklin peered through the periscope at a promising target, an Italian freighter silhouetted against the setting sun. A torpedo shot from its tube, leaving a telltale wake as it sped towards its target. Seconds ticked by. The crew held their breath. But instead of the expected explosion, they watched helplessly as the torpedo passed harmlessly under the ship's keel. It was another frustrating miss, one of many during Upholder's first 5 patrols. These early setbacks, while disheartening, provided valuable lessons. Wanklin and his crew honed their skills, learning to navigate the treacherous waters and overcome the unreliability of their torpedoes. Their persistence would soon pay off. On April 25, 1941, after months of near misses and false starts, Upholder finally found her mark. Patrolling off the Tunisian coast, she encountered the Italian freighter Antoinetta Loro. This time, Wanklin's calculations were perfect. 2 torpedoes streaked through the water at his command. The first missed, but the second struck true. A thunderous explosion rocked the Mediterranean as Antoinetta Loro's hull split apart. Within minutes, the freighter slipped beneath the waves, leaving only flotsam and an expanding oil slick. The very next day, Upholder struck again, this time in an unconventional manner. They spotted the grounded wrecks of a German freighter and an Italian destroyer, casualties of an earlier battle. Wanklin sent a boarding party to retrieve valuable documents before destroying the ships with demolition charges. These successes marked a turning point for Upholder. The crew's confidence grew, and they began to develop a reputation as a formidable team. But their greatest test was yet to come. On May 24, 1941, Upholder's hydrophones picked up the rhythmic thrumming of merchant ship engines. As Wanklin raised the periscope, his eyes widened. Before him lay a convoy of 3 massive liners, escorted by a screen of destroyers. The largest ship, Contoso, towered above the rest. Wanklin knew that sinking this ship could deal a significant blow to Axis operations in North Africa. At Wanklin's signal, 4 torpedoes launched in quick succession. The submarine shuddered with each release. 2 solid thuds followed, and through the periscope, Wanklin watched as Contoso listed heavily to port. Suddenly, a destroyer peeled off from the convoy, racing towards Upholder's position. The submarine plunged into the depths as the first depth charges exploded around her. For hours, the crew endured a punishing barrage. The submarine's hull creaked and groaned under the assault in the darkness. Men clung to their stations, wondering if each explosion would be the one to end it all. When Upholder finally surfaced under the cover of darkness, the sea was empty, save for an oil slick and floating debris. Contoso, along with nearly 1,300 souls, had vanished beneath the waves. The sinking of Contoso catapulted Upholder and Wanklin to fame. Wanklin was awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest decoration for valor in the British Armed Forces, and Upholder's reputation as a formidable predator began to grow among both allies and enemies. Throughout the summer and fall of 1941, Upholder continued to strike at Axis shipping, each successful attack further cementing her fearsome reputation. On July 28th, she found herself facing a far more formidable foe, the Italian light cruiser Giuseppe Garibaldi. The warship's sleek hull cut through the water at 25 knots, its guns capable of obliterating Upholder in seconds if spotted. Wanklin maneuvered Upholder into position, timing his shot with precision. A single torpedo streaked towards the cruiser. The explosion that followed sent a plume of water and debris high into the air. Giuseppe Garibaldi, mortally wounded, limped away, trailing oil and smoke. Less than 2 months later, on September 18th, Upholder achieved her crowning success. 2 massive Italian troop transports, Oceania and Neptunia, loomed in her periscope. A spread of torpedoes raced towards each ship. Explosions rocked both vessels almost simultaneously, and chaos erupted on the sea's surface. Lifeboats were frantically lowered as the ships began to list. Within an hour, both transports had slipped beneath the waves, taking hundreds of Axis troops with them. By the end of 1941, Upholder had become the most successful British submarine of the war. Her exploits earned her the nickname the Fighting U-Boat from admiring crews of other vessels. The submarine's Jolly Roger flag, on which submariners traditionally recorded their victories, was crowded with symbols representing sunken and damaged enemy ships. However, as Upholder's successes mounted, so did the strain on the crew. Life aboard a submarine in the Mediterranean was grueling. The constant threat of depth charge attacks, the stifling heat, and the limited space took their toll. Even in port, there was little respite. Malta endured near constant bombing, forcing the submarines to dive to the harbor bottom for protection. Despite these challenges, Wanklin kept his crew focused and motivated. His calm demeanor in the face of danger earned him the respect and loyalty of his men. One crew member later recalled, quote, "He never set out to be popular with anybody. But for all that, he was utterly straight with the ship's company, and they all came to love him for it." The new year started well for Upholder. On January 5th, 1942, she sank the Italian submarine Ammiraglio Samban northeast of Milazzo, Sicily. It was a rare submarine versus submarine sinking, demonstrating Wanklin's technical skill. However, by spring, Upholder bore the scars of her relentless campaign. Her hull, once sleek, now showed the wear of countless dives and surfacings. Salt water had worked its way into her systems, corroding vital components. In the cramped engine room, engineers fought a constant battle against failing machinery, their tools becoming extensions of their weary hands. Despite these challenges, the strategic situation in the Mediterranean demanded more from Upholder and her crew. Rommel's Africa Corps surged eastward, Egypt and the Suez Canal hanging in the balance. The Allies' grip on North Africa was slipping. Every Axis supply ship that made it to Libya could tip the scales. Soon enough, Upholder received orders for yet another patrol. This time, her destination was the treacherous waters off Tripoli, a haven for Axis shipping. On April 6, 1942, she left Malta's Grand Harbor once more and set sail across the Mediterranean. Days passed with no word from Upholder. April 14th, her scheduled return date, came and went. In Malta, anxiety grew with each passing hour. The silence from Upholder became deafening as time marched on. As days turned to weeks, theories began to circulate. Some pointed to an Italian report of a successful depth charge attack by the torpedo boat Pegaso on April 14th. Others considered the possibility that Upholder had fallen victim to one of the countless mines littering the Mediterranean seabed. The more imaginative speculated about a catastrophic mechanical failure or a surprise attack by German aircraft. The truth remained elusive. No distress call had been received, no debris spotted, no oil slick sighted. Upholder seemed to have vanished into the depths she had prowled so successfully. Months later, on August 22nd, the Admiralty was forced to confront the grim reality. In an unprecedented move, they issued a special commendation for a submarine presumed lost. It read in part, quote, "The ship and her company are gone, but the example and inspiration remain." The circumstances of Upholder's final days continue to elude historians and naval experts. Theories abound about her last moments. A fierce battle against overwhelming odds, or perhaps a silent, unseen threat that struck without warning. The Mediterranean keeps its secrets well, and the fate of Upholder and her 33 brave souls remains one of the great mysteries of naval warfare. To this day, Upholder's last patrol continues to captivate historians and submarine enthusiasts alike. Each theory, each scrap of evidence is scrutinized in the hope of finally uncovering the truth. The enduring mystery of Upholder's fate ensures her legacy will never be forgotten, serving as a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made by submariners in the treacherous waters of World War II. During her time in Malta, Upholder completed 24 patrols, sinking 93,031 tons of enemy shipping. Her victims included 3 warships, 2 submarines, 3 troop ships, and numerous cargo vessels. She also damaged several other ships, including an Italian light cruiser. This remarkable tally made her the most successful British submarine of World War II. Upholder's exploits played a crucial role in the wider Mediterranean campaign. By disrupting Allied supply lines to North Africa, she and her sister submarines helped deny Rommel's forces the resources they needed to achieve victory. The tonnage sunk by Malta-based submarines between January 1941 and May 1942 totaled an incredible 400,000 tons. These losses would prove critical in the Allies' eventual triumph in the North African theater. The legacy of Upholder and her crew extends far beyond their wartime achievements. Their courage and determination in the face of overwhelming odds exemplified the spirit that would ultimately lead the Allies to victory. Lieutenant Commander Wanklyn, posthumously awarded 2 bars to his Distinguished Service Order, remains one of the most decorated officers in Royal Navy history. Today, HMS Upholder still lies somewhere at the bottom of the Mediterranean, both a tomb and a monument to the 33 brave men who made the ultimate sacrifice. While the exact location of her wreck remains unknown, her story continues to inspire new generations of sailors and submariners.